Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at the Chill Cube from Furrion. Now this is one of the latest and greatest ACs out on the market, and it comes in with a BTU rating that's higher than any other ones out there at 18,000. Now this has a ton of cool features, it's super efficient, and it's super quiet. So if you're looking to upgrade or replace an old unit, this is going to be a great option. And today we're going to be installing it on a 2022 Forest River Salem FSX travel trailer. Now this unit is going to be available in a few different configurations, ducted and non-ducted, and then also white or black. Now it does take just a second for it to ramp up, and that's something that's different than a lot of AC units. Is the slow startup speed means that it's not going to peak and valley. It's going to slowly go up and ramp up, and that's going to be good on startup power. And then it holds it nice and even. But here with turbo mode, you can see the difference as I open this up from ducting. This is just blasting, but as I close this up, we can see we got good airflow. So again, this is on the highest setting, so let's go ahead and check the decibels. Now before we get our Chill Cube in place, we have a Coleman mock originally in here from the factory, and the people that have this camper are struggling that it's just not cooling off the bedroom as much as they'd like. Being that this is a ducted system, it's a decent amount of travel before we get to the bedroom, and that's probably where they're having a lot of the issues when trying to sleep. So we have some streamers here, and what we've done on the ducted system is I've opened this one up. It's one of the closer ones, and then we've also done the bedroom to kind of get an idea of what our original output is. Again, not scientific by any means, but a good visualization. The next thing that we're going to check also is sound. The Chill Cube is one of the quietest out there, so I have a decibel meter on my phone. Again, this may not be a perfect test. I'm going to hold these streamers so those cut down on the noise, or even close this vent. And we're going to put this right up. Now, normal conversation will put generally around 70. So we'll be quiet for a second and see where this comes in. So I'd say it's a consistent 68 for decibels. So once we get our Chill Cube in, we'll compare that and see how it works out and how much quieter it is. So significantly quiet. I mean, it's really, that's kind of one of the selling points about this is it's quiet. You're getting 18,000 BTU, and the fact that you do have a few different modes that make this unique is really what's important, and easy startup. So the follow me, as I mentioned, this will say I'm out here and it's nice and cool, but it's time for bed, and the bedroom, being that it's on the other side of this camper, means that it's going to be a little bit warmer. So it's going to follow the thermostat where I'm at and make sure that it gets to that temperature. Your sleep, this is going to be normally nighttime, everything kind of tapers down. So when you press the sleep, it's going to stagger that temperature and slowly rise it up over the night, which at that point, cooler night temperatures should take in. That way you're not waking up freezing cold. Few other things that you'll have is an LED light to light this up, which is nice. There's a timer. We mentioned that turbo button. The gear button is going to be for maximum efficiency, so you can have it at 50% or 75%. So if you're trying to hold back on power but still be nice and cool, that's going to be the button that you use. So really, it's nice. You have a remote, and I know a lot of times people want Bluetooth, but that's one more thing to keep track of. So having the remote's nice, but you also have that availability to adjust it all here at the unit. So really, if you're looking to upgrade your previous air conditioning unit, this one will give you a quieter, smoother run and more, coolness really is what it comes down to. And something that you need to keep in mind, currently there is no furnace option or a thermostat option. That is coming down the pipeline. So something you're going to want to take a look at is if your AC originally controls the furnace. Once you put this in, currently you will not have that furnace function. Ours today was a separate furnace, so everything was fine there. We still have heat when we need it, because at this current time, this is only going to be for AC. Now, it's also important to note that if you have a non-ducted unit, that furnace is not an option. So that's really what's important, is making sure that you get the proper one. So that's going to be ducted or non-ducted. In our case, we are ducted. And let's go take a look at the bedroom. We'll hit the turbo button and see how that air's flowing. So coming back to the bedroom where it matters when you're trying to sleep, it looks as if our streamers that we put up definitely has more airflow. It's nice and cool in here. So seeing a side by side will be interesting, but I definitely think that we are getting more airflow and efficiency overall. So definitely a fantastic option. If your previous AC just isn't cutting it or it's gone out, I think the Furrion Chill Cube is going to be the one that you're going to want to look at. This is definitely the latest and greatest currently that has the highest BTU on the market and lots of efficiency to go with it. Now to get our installation going, you're going to want to shut off power to the AC and make sure that it's disconnected, because we're going to be tapping into house power. We're going to want to make sure that we don't have that electricity going through. So we do need to get our distribution box taken down. A lot of times this is where we're going to get access to the hardware to be able to loosen that up and then take our rooftop unit out. So to gain access to our hardware, which is originally, or it's going to be right here, we're going to pull off our filters and we're going to take our shroud off to give us a lot more room to work. So first we'll get our shroud off. It's probably going to be Phillips head screws, and ours, they put silicone around this edge, but I think once we loosen up this hardware, that should come off. We can set this aside. Now we'll get the bolts that, this compresses that top unit down to our bottom distribution box, and yours may differentiate, but I found that either 8 or a 5/16 is going to work here. So we'll loosen this up. So now we can start to pull this lower base down. Now you will probably have some heat tape because this is in a ducted orientation, so I'm just going to cut the heat tape for now, and we'll be able to put our own stuff up here a little bit later. But with that taken down, we're going to head up to the roof and we're going to start removing our old unit and also getting it separated from the electronics. A lot of times once you pull that main unit out, that's going to give us better access to the control box and all of those connections. Now taking those long bolts out, that's what tightens everything down, and it compresses down on foam to create a seal. So over time, these really get adhered to it. So what I do is just kind of shift the AC unit around to kind of loosen that seal. You want to be careful not to pull up too much and damage your membrane. So just take your time, just kind of lift it up, get some of that to undo itself here. So pulling this out, you may get a little resistance here, but we have our electrical here, and we're going to want to get this box taken out. Now to gain access to our electrical connections and not really stress them out, we're going to get the cover taken off of our unit that we have up top here. So it's a Phillips head screw. There's 2 of them here, and I believe the shroud just pops off. I've lifted my unit up, just kind of made sure that the seal wasn't pulling up the membrane. And our main control box is attached. It looks like these 2 screws. And once we get that down, it's going to make it a lot easier to make the rest of our connections on our chill cube. So I'm going to take these down. And with those screws removed, I'm starting to get this main unit taken down. Now we do have some other connections here, so I'm going to get these all separated. Now the main thing is we're going to have our main harness that's from our old unit going to the control box. We'll get this separated. Just push on the tabs and we should be able to get this unplugged. And then we have thermostat wires. Now the cool thing with the chill cube is the thermostat is a remote, so we really don't have to worry too much about this. It's going to make our other one, we're not going to be using it, but from here we just have some Wago style clips, and the only other things that we need, the freeze sensor. A lot of times it's going to be pressed into the fins on the evaporator here, but right now we have this off, and that's the main thing that we're looking to do because we're going to want to grab the power from this. So at this point, you can go ahead and get your old unit off the roof and get your new chill cube up here. You can leave the distribution, you just want the top portion up here. And that's going to be probably the hardest part of this installation, is getting an AC unit on your roof. once you get your new unit on the roof, we're going to drop this in place, and it should align about the same as your previous one. Now's a good time too, if there's any dirt or debris that's where originally it was sealing up, you're going to want to clean that off, so that way we can get a nice seal. We don't have any water leaking in. Now our main unit and the electrical wires that we had, just drape those inside for now, and then we'll grab our chill cube and we'll drop this in. Try to align it as best you can. Sometimes you'll have to hop underneath and get that aligned, but I'll get this scooted in place. And also make sure the electrical wires that you have will have a power and then two little connector styles. Make sure those are passed in. So down below, just make sure that your foam is sitting nice and squared up on your opening. So I got mine aligned up. If you need to, you can have someone shift it. You can kind of move it around from down here as well. So now we have our new connections. And at this point, we need to get our old connections taken off. So our power, that's going to be key because we're going to be tapping in. And you'll see our thermostat settings. Now, the chill cube does not have, it's a remote that's going to be the thermostat, which is really nice. You can take that remote with you and it's going to pick up exactly where you're at in the camper. And currently, there's no wall-mounted option. It's going to be coming out a little bit later, as well as a furnace option. So for our sake today, I'm going to separate the thermostat by just unplugging that, and we'll tie this up somewhere up there a little bit cleaner later. And now we need to separate the power. So make sure that your power's cut so we're not getting anything going through here. And we're lucky today, we got some Wago style connectors, so we can just undo these and then pull it out. And you may have a wire strain here that you'll have to separate, but we'll get this pulled out. So the first thing we're going to do before making any connections is grab your new bolts, which is really nice that they include those. That's not always the case with AC units. And we're going to just slide all of our connections through our opening. And we're going to get these lined up. So you'll see that kind of threads in there. And this is a good chance to make sure everything's squared up. So we're not going to snug these down quite yet. We're just going to kind of mock this up. With that kind of mocked, what we're going to do is, it's a good chance to make sure all your screws are pretty well a straight shot, and that's going to tell you the alignment of the AC. So as we push this up, what we're going to be doing is that foam section, make sure it's sitting flush, and up top there's going to be more foam, so you can see the gap that's located here. And what we want to do is put our additional foam separator, but we want to make sure that it works. There is some, you can press down on this foam here, so I think we can get away by putting the entire thing on. So the main thing is just making sure that we're getting this all closed up. And sometimes you can trim for that, but we're going to go ahead, we'll take this back down, we'll get our foam piece put back on. So really just trying to seal up any of the air. That way it's going directly to your ducts and just kind of not creating cool air on the other side where the controls are. You'll see that there's stripes along here, and that's, if you do have to cut off a section, you can follow that and get a nice clean cut. Since we're going to be using all of ours, I'll just make sure that that's sitting in place. You can see the groove, it should fit into that foam with no issues. And then we have our insulation tape. Now this is just a foam tape, and we're going to put this along the outside edge to seal that gap up and keep this in place. Now, I do recommend getting some of that silver tape that's going to be for your HVAC or ducting. That's going to really help get the most efficiency out of this once it's installed. So it's something that's not included, but something I'd recommend picking up. So I'll just go ahead and tape this along our edge. And my foam came loose. I think this was originally glued. I think once it's compressed, we're not going to have any issues, but I did have some extra of that insulation tape, so I'm just going to put it on our seam here just to keep everything nice and airtight. So now with that stuck in place, we'll just raise this back up, get our hardware put back in. And just get them started by hand. You don't want to strip anything out in the process, so they should go in fairly easily. Get all four in place first. Now with it all loosely in place, I'm going to snug these up. You can use a 10mm socket. Now you don't have to get crazy here because there is a torque setting involved and it's inch pounds, not foot pounds. It's not a whole lot of pressure. So I'm just going to get this snug and then I'll come back. I have a small torque wrench to get that properly tightened. And just kind of alternate corners. And now I'll just go back, and I had to do some math on the internet to find exactly what our torque setting would be. This is a Newton meters, but again, if you're using a torque wrench, it's very possible it's not going to go down that low. So that just goes to show it's not a ton of pressure because all you're doing is really trying to compress that foam. So we'll go through, get these all torqued down properly. So with this all tight in place, now we just need to make the electrical connections, and you'll see that there's going to be clamps for our wires, and that's going to make it really nice to keep these you know, at a nice point where it's going to create a wire strain. It's not going to have any stress on the wires. And as far as connecting these, there's a few different options. You can use those Wago style clips that they included. There's also a terminal block that will mount up here, and I think that's kind of what I'm going to go for. So really it's going to be pretty simple. You have your power, your neutral, and so black to black, white to white, pretty simple there. And then your ground, you have the bare copper, a yellow, and then we also have a ground that's on this box. So we do need to get those attached together. So that's where on the ground, it might be a little bit tricky to get on this terminal, but I'll get this all stripped up and mounted up and show you how I did it. So I got my attachments made. So I ran our new Furrion harness. We have our wire clip here that I tightened down. And on the screw side that we have here, that's not the inset, this actually works out well for the clips that were supplied to just pop that in. You're going to loosen these up, tighten it back down, and then on this end you just strip back, put it underneath the plate, and then tighten it. For our ground, I used the ring terminal that we had on our new harness to attach to the box, and then just took that screw off, used that same factory ground, and I reused the Wago style connector to get that in place. So this is what it should look like. Pretty clean overall. And from here, we're going to just grab our box that's going to go over, and you're going to see there's a spot for our wire here, there's a spot here and up top. So what I'll do is just kind of slide this into place, and there's going to be holes on the bottom side that are going to line up with the metal. So we have one here and one on the other side. We'll go ahead and get that tightened down. And with that mounted up, we have a cover that goes on the box. It just slides in the tab. And then this is going to slide in place. Should kind of snap in here. And that will align this hole, allowing us to get our last screw in. So using thermal tape that's not supplied, I just sealed all this up. Previous, they had a box that blocked off really just open roof because our ducts are facing this way and this way. We want to direct that air as much as possible and keep it as efficient as possible. So just taping everything up around the seals so there's no lost air really will make sure that all of the air that's being pushed out is going to go towards our AC vents. So with this taped up, we can start to put up our lower unit here. Now we can make our connection. So we have our gray wire going to our black plug. Our white and blue are plugged in. That's going to be your freeze sensor. And this black one off to the side, we're not going to be using currently. That would be if you have an add-on for you know, heat later on. So I'm just going to tuck this in here for now. And that box, I see now that we can actually take this out and tuck our excess wires in there, which kind of works out well. It'll just keep everything nice and tidy as we get this panel up in place. Now we'll get our cover mounted up, and there's just going to be 4 holes, 2 of them that are on our duct opening, and then the other 2 are going to be located in these pockets here. So I'll get these started. So with those 4 tightened down, there's also a center one. We'll get that one snugged down as well. It should really draw up pretty close to where it's flush against the ceiling. There's a little bit of flex in the plastic, but overall it's looking pretty clean. We do have some leftover silicone from our old one, so once that's taken down, it'll look a lot cleaner. And that's something to keep in mind is this lower panel is smaller than some of the other ones out there. It's the same size, obviously, as far as, you know, factory hole. but this lower portion is smaller, but just something to keep in mind. Now we have our filter. This is going to go in place. You'll see the metal on the bottom and these hoops. So you'll just put the pins towards the front. These go in alignment pins, and then the two outside holes will have a screw that will get in place and will snug down. Now we just need to grab our filter and we'll snap this in place, and then we'll hook up to power, and we can test to make sure it's working by hitting the power button. That's a good sign. And at this point, we can start using the AC. Now, being that it's a ducted system, more than likely you're going to want to close this vent and test to make sure that it's going through all of your ducts. And that was a look and installation of the Furrion Chill Cube 18,000 BTU RV AC unit on a 2022 Forest River Salem FSX travel trailer.